It is 7:03. I'm going to call the regular meeting of the Board of Selectmen to order. Our first item of business is the Pledge of Allegiance. Sarah, would you lead us?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All members of the Board of Selectmen are here and present. Before we move on to the approval of meeting minutes, I'd like to ask that we add agenda item 9J, which is discussion and possible vote on the painting bid. Is there a second?
No.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Great. The Board of Selectmen public hearing meeting minutes from May 16th. They're in your packet. I trust everybody's reviewed them. Are there any corrections? First, may I have a motion?
Yes, I will move to approve the May 16th, 2024 Board of Selectmen public hearing minutes.
Is there a second?
Second discussion.
Seconded by Marie. Discussion.
Yes, just a minor adjustment under attendance, just after Selectman Nageloff, that says, it says, and we're in person. I don't know if there is.
That's just a script.
Yeah, and then Selectman Baker was absent from that public hearing, and he's listed on page 2, number 13 as adjourning the meeting, which he was not present. I believe I made that motion, and I believe it was seconded by Marie. And that's the only corrections I have.
Marie.
Oh, no, I gave him my correction.
Okay.
This was a late day, so feedback. And my only correction.
Isn't that correction?
Yep, Marie was finishing her sentence, and then I'll turn to you. Go ahead.
Right, that's fine.
So,
Page 8,
Page 8, we're on the public hearing.
oh, I'm sorry.
Anything on the public hearing, Pete? No. Any further corrections? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes are adopted as amended. May 16th, regular meeting minutes. I was gonna ask if I may have a motion. You're good.
I'll move to approve the May 16th, 2024 Board of Selectmen regular meeting minutes.
Is there a second?
second.
Any discussion?
Yes, on page 4, to accept with regret the resignation of Karen Goodrow to serve on the Register of Voters. She's not serving on there. She is the Register of Voters.
So,
Serve as the registrar, yeah. And number 3, it says that Selectman Baker thanked her for her services. It's Mr. Severino, so if we could change that to him, please.
Yep.
And then just page 5 under C, the last paragraph, it says first Selectman asked Amy O'Toole to provide more information on the timesheets submitted by the election workers. But I think that document was actually submitted by Karen Goodrow, the registrar.
Yep, the former registrar.
I believe that's all that I have. Let me check, yes.
All right, Keith, you had something?
Yeah, page 8, you discussed contract for waste and recycling between the town and All American Waste. It says Selectman Yagloff expressed that he was not in favor of signing a 10-year contract on waste removal. But then something was added, even though it may save the town some money, and I didn't say that. I actually went back to the YouTube video, and that second part, I like that stricken, even though it may save the town some money.
On page 8,
Page 8, yeah.
8,
Letter E.
E. Okay,
And then I just want to make a comment, and again, I'm not trying to make a change here, but you know, I noticed that just as a comment, we had a discussion on tax refund for Part A. I remember participating in that discussion.
I'm sorry, where are you?
Oh, I'm just going to page 4. The first item on 9A, the tax refund for veterans. I had some fairly significant comments on that. No comments made it into the minutes. B, discuss alcoholic beverages at the park. I have comments on that, none of my comments are there. C, discuss a possible vote on registrar's compensation issue. I've actually had quite a lengthy discussion on that, none of my comments made it into the minutes. There was, H, the discussion of the DOA community policing development micro grants. I had quite a bit of comments on that, didn't make it into the minutes, and also the thing where they talked about the, traffic enforcement systems. I had comments about that. So, you know, my participation in the meeting isn't really reflected in the minutes. I'm just making a comment. I'm not asking for any corrections, but it would be good if, since, you know, if all of us had some degree of our participation included in the minutes, if we're gonna go that route. I noticed other selectmen had their comment in there. And I just, I'm asking maybe the minute taker could be, make sure that at least if I'm making extensive comments, it's at least reflected in the minutes. That's all I'm asking. That's it.
Other comments or questions?
I'm gonna jump on to that.
Okay.
Yeah, so also page 8E says Selectman Baker questioned some parts of it and requested clarification. And actually, it was very clear that I wasn't questioning. I said I wanted the organics clause struck or modified to be optional, and the terms of the diesel pricing to be renegotiated to reflect current prices.
It is.
Parts pertaining to diesel pricing and composting. Yeah, we're trying to do,
No, I know, it's,
brevity.
and I do, I typically don't look for verbatim, you know, and everybody does it a little bit different, but I don't, and typically if it's just, you know, if I said something, if somebody wants clarification, they can go to the tape, they can get it, right? But this was, I thought, not indicative of what, reflective of what I had said.
Fair enough.
So in this case, I
Other corrections? As amended, all in favor? Opposed? It's hot in here.
He's not. You were right. It was nice. He said, wait till 7. So there'd be a lot of here getting quickly, and I don't know.
Well, we do now. All right, public participation, one of two opportunities for members of the public to address the Board of Selectmen. I'll first ask if there's anybody here in the room who would like to address the board, and then I'll provide the same opportunity to anybody who's online. If you would like to address the board, please state your name and your address and state your business. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Kate Carey Trull, 28A Folkestone Road. Regarding the item on the agenda on the high school track replacement that's coming up on tonight's agenda, the high school has consistently had about 50 students participate in track and cross country for a number of years. And currently there's a strong program at the middle school with 45 students. So the program continues to grow. As a district, we would like to continue to support the track and cross country programs. We think the replacement of the track is an important part of that. We appreciate the support and the project being moved forward, because if it could get done over the summer, there would be less impacts to other sports such as soccer in the fall. Our track goes around our soccer field, so if that's still being fixed longer into, it could impact like where soccer games can be held and that type of thing. So if this can be moved forward to Board of Finance town meeting, those types of things, we do appreciate the support and that kind of forward motion. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment? Yes, sir. Name and address, please.
Paul Anderson, 89 Main Street, Broadbrook. As I mentioned in your office, Jason, I think that I need to say positive words about Public Works and the line painting on town roads. It's not just attractive, but it's a major safety improvement for people to know where they belong on the road. And I noticed it on South Water Street, I've noticed it on other streets, and it is a major positive improvement to our town.
Thank you for that, sir. I appreciate that. Is there any other public comment? Is there any other public comment? Is there any other public comment? Is there anyone online who would like to address the Board of Selectmen? Seeing none, there will be another opportunity later in the meeting. We'll move on now to communications. In your packet, there is a proclamation that I issued proclaiming June as lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, and or questioning intersex, asexual, and two-spirited Pride Month throughout the town of East Windsor, which is now the recognized term for that, but we've designated Pride Month in the town of East Windsor. That proclamation is in there. Probably this should have been under communication too, but there is a resignation letter from Frank Gowdy as a member of the Planning and Zoning Commission, which will dovetail us into our next agenda item, which is resignations.
Move to approve with regret, Frank Gowdy from the Planning and Zoning Commission.
Is there a second?
Second that.
I would just say Frank has served the town on and off the Planning and Zoning Commission for 28 years. That is a tremendously long time to be participating in local government. He's a wealth of knowledge and we appreciate his service over time. At 85, I'd want to just take it easy too, I think. All in favor of Frank's resignation, please say aye. Opposed? We have no reappointments, but we do have 2 new applicants for members of the Water Pollution Control Authority for different terms. I would note, where are we in that?
They were at the graduation center.
You did tell me that. Yes, you did.
Yes,
So both are known to us. I think we should probably take them one at a time just because their terms are different.
I'll move to appoint Wayne Sherry as a regular member to the Water Pollution Control Authority Board for a term expiring October 1st, 2026.
Second.
Any discussion?
Do we have any of his background information?
He's an engineer.
He was an engineer. Okay, I thought so. I just wanted to make sure. Okay.
Well, he's a retiree now, but he wasn't.
Just thank him for stepping forward.
Absolutely. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And our second appointment is Tom Buckley, also for a member of the Water Pollution Control.
Make a motion to appoint Tom Buckley to the Water Pollution Control Authority as a member for a term expiring October 1, 2027.
Second.
Any discussion?
Yeah, I have discussion. On his comments, said, we've explained your reason for being interested in serving your town in this capacity. And his comment was because I was forced to do this. I have a problem with that. I don't think anybody should be forced to sit on any board or commission. And if it was meant to be funny, this board is too important to start off. I'm forced to be on this board. So I would just like clarification as to what his background is and what makes him qualified for the position, because that certainly has caught my attention.
Tom, would you like to kind of give us a primer on what your background and your interest is?
Than being just a regular citizen,
Professional background, anything like that?
electronics, would work. And participating here quite often,
And how long have you been a resident?
a long time.
Have you been on a board or commission before? No. So to Marie's point, why now?
Why not?
Why now?
Somebody offered it to me and I thought I'd take a chance to see what it's all about. I'm interested in what goes on down here. I took a tour through there last year and I was impressed with what I saw and what I heard. So I thought maybe there's a chance to help it out.
Thank you.
Can I make a comment?
Sure.
You bring humor to almost every one of our meetings in some form or another. Almost every question you ask in some form brings a sense of humor. It lightens the mood. I find it to be refreshing. I've always thought it was very positive. When you do that, I don't want to discourage you to do that. Marie, nothing. I didn't take it, and I'm not saying you took it wrong, but knowing Frank, and he's been coming to Tom. He's been coming to all the meetings that I've been at since I was elected in November. Pretty much everyone, you make a joke or you make some comment, and very positive about our community. So I just took it as it was.
I'm not questioning any of that. I was just questioning what was written, because this is a document that's going to be attached. And I just wanted clarification for the public that you will only see this. So
Yeah.
that's why I brought it up.
Yeah, I took it immediately as another one of Tom's jokes. It was meant that way, right?
I was gonna say Tom Lumen and had my name was mentioned, but.
Right.
So,
I missed the meeting, I got volunteered.
I support this and I hope we all do because Tom's been coming to our meetings, he's been an active participant, member of the community asking questions and showing an interest in participating and we need to encourage everybody that comes forward that's qualified to be part of our boards and commissions. So I fully support it.
I mean, I thank Mr. Buckley for stepping forward. I know he's been coming to our meetings and other meetings and trying to be involved in the community for several months and years. Which I think is great. I also was a little concerned just because this is what is written on paper and I don't want anybody to feel that they're forced to do something. I want them to obviously want to serve. So I'm a little concerned about that, just like Marie, that this is what the public sees, but I am going to support him serving because I think he'll be an asset, but I just want it to be known I was concerned as well.
If there was no further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, sir.
you must want me for some reason, you've gotten here for 3 years instead of 2. How'd that work out?
I think it's the order in which the applications were received, if I'm being honest. Okay, we're gonna move on now to. I'd like to take a couple items kind of together because they involve the same staff people, and I'm gonna try and move them along as quickly as I could. So could we please take agenda item 9A, which is a discussion of 79 Tromley Road drainage, and 9J, discussion possible vote on the paving bid, out of order and together.
I'll move, we take up agenda items 9A and J together currently, right now.
Second,
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, Mr. Norton, we made you wait till the very end last time, so we're gonna move you at the very beginning.
Somebody can.
That'll help.
Okay, Charlie Road drainage, we put up, project out to bid, we have a drainage issue done by the field trial, entrance. I designed a drainage system, we put it out to bid, we got a low bidder, I checked the low bidder's, references, he has glowing references, it's, MDB Construction LLC, Suffield. The references were actually other towns. Suffield for one. Someone in Windsor Locks for another. Anyhow, I would like to award them the project.
I just had one question.
I wasn't sure if he was mid.
Yeah, yes, I'm done. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Oh, that was
That was it. Well, it's,
very concise.
well, there's a low bidder, references checked. They've done other work. I didn't put that. They've done other work for the town as well. I mean, of the job, so. I'd like to award them the job and get the drainage fixed.
It was just like me telling a joke. You get excited about the end and forget the middle. You have a question?
I actually don't have a question on this one.
Okay. Sarah.
How many bids were received? Don't we usually receive several of the bids and we look at all of them?
We have not been consistent about that. We have done that from time to time, or we have done a little bit of recommendation. Maybe, I know Len's done the research on it and can probably explain what the difference was between the two. That'd be helpful.
It would be, thank you.
I don't know what that's in the different folder. However. There were, let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4. 5. There were probably 6 bids. I have the sign-in sheet. Yeah, 5, and he didn't come to the sign-in because he was busy. So there would have been, actually six bidders.
And this one was substantially lower.
Yes.
And is that the only reason why you'd be recommending this?
Well, I'm recommending him because he was the lowest bidder and he's done other work in town and he got glowing references from, I just had it here, the Public Works Director in Suffield, oh, here they are. Here's the bids right here. He was 59,957. Then there were two that were 61 and change, 61.4. So he was in the ballpark, you know, as far, he wasn't like substantially low that you have to worry.
Mhm.
And he wasn't the high bid, which was $198,000, who apparently doesn't need the work. So,
And when would we be expecting this to start?
well, if you give me the go-ahead, I actually have the paperwork filled out in my Word document. I just need to put the dates in, the date of the agreement. I have to give them an award letter that Jason would sign, and we have to give him a notice to proceed, and we'll sit and have a contract signed and all that stuff. So I haven't asked him how busy he is, but I would like him to start in the next few weeks at least, you know.
Oh, that I have this.
Right.
He's done work in town before,
Yes.
and he wasn't vetted before when he did work for us. He's gotten,
Well,
you're saying that the
We
person they use,
we don't do a preferred vendor for that type of work. That's a bid project.
but I just questioned,
he actually did the excavation and poured the pads or tubes, whatever, for the lights at, on Abbey Road.
Yeah.
And he just came out and tried to resolve a problem with the elementary school, a water issue. Those are two that I can think of off the top of my head.
now the drainage issue, you said it's in front of the, state.
It's right as you come
Or
up,
is it the house next door?
well, it starts, actually, the
there.
problem is the driveway from, that goes up into the field trial
Yeah.
area. The water comes
Right.
down the
Yeah.
east side of the driveway, goes into an existing catch basin poorly. And then the pipe that goes from that catch basin heading west
High school.
towards the high school west, somewhere in there it's blocked and plugged.
And that's what's causing all that
That's-
property
it's-
there to flood.
Yes,
Okay.
so we're actually gonna put 2 catch basins.
Okay.
And then run a brand new pipe all the way down to where it heads south under Trolley Road. 400 roughly feet of pipe.
I would entertain the motion that we authorize, the signage of the agreement, set forth from Donovan Windsor and MDB Construction LLC. For work at 79 Trolley Road Drainage Improvement Project.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
I have a couple of comments. It's okay?
Yeah.
So, since I've been on the board, we've always gotten the bids to review. At least in this case, we don't have the actual bid from this company, and we don't have bids from the other companies, and I think part of our job is to review the bids and to accept it and to listen to the recommendations of staff. And it's not just awarding this company the bid that I'm concerned about, it's also the companies that we don't award bids to. I'd like to know which companies bid and which ones we said no to. So that we have I have a perspective of who's bidding and who's not getting the bids and et cetera. So I just don't feel comfortable approving any bids without, or contracts without seeing the bids. I'm gonna have to vote no for this.
Any other comments?
Do you have that information available so you can pass it off for us tonight? My
I
concern is if we don't move.
could make a copy of the bid opening sheet.
No, I'd like to see like the qualifications of the company, the equipment that they're intending to use, the personnel, and then, and I'd like to see the ones that we exclude, because I don't know, if they may be a local company that we're not giving an opportunity to, that maybe we should get it. I don't know, but I'm happy to rely heavily on the recommendations of staff. Nothing against Len for any of that, my comments, I think his recommendations are probably truly accurate. But I think my responsibility is to look at the bids, because we're the ones approving the contract. So even the bid paper showing the amounts wouldn't be what I'd be looking for. I actually want to see their bids, and we've gotten bids before. When we go on contracts, we've had the chance to review them before we go.
I think just that, it seems like when we have a big outlay, we tend to review all the bids and everything, and that's true, and I think there's also been some where these smaller ones that we did, and so maybe we needed to do it one way or the other, but in this case, I'm comfortable with what we have.
I would agree, I'm comfortable too also, but it is an issue. We probably should have a policy that's going to be followed consistently.
Yep.
One saying if the project is under this amount, one thing, if it's between this and this is something else, and then the larger one is. But because I'm familiar with the area and I see in front of that road regularly and know when it rains, it floods over into road and stuff. It's an accident waiting to happen, in my opinion. So, I would like to expedite it just for safety purposes.
Any other comments?
No, I do agree with what Keith had said. And Alan as well. I think there should be some consistency as well, not just on the project. We should get the bids either all the time or not, because it's like we're excluding companies without even giving them a chance, and I don't think that's fair, but I do think we should move forward on this project, and I don't want to hold it up, but I would like some consistency moving forward.
If there's nothing further, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
So carried. Next up.
But you're not gonna like this then.
That's what I
Say,
read.
probably not.
I did a bid opening today for our paving this year,
The bid opening was today, so
Yes.
keep that in mind, and
today. So I am just here tonight. I have nothing. I'm here to ask a question. We did a bid opening today for our paving. Okay, 3 people bid it, 3 companies bid it. Okay, the company that we used last year was the low bidder today. At $1,079,740. The next lowest bidder, A&J Construction, was $1,081,468.95. Honestly, not quite sure when they ended up with 95 cents on $1 million bid, but whatever. I can't attempt to round up.
I was told by somebody, so it makes it look like we did some work.
Shaving pennies for you.
And the third bid was Palmer Paving, out of Palmer, Mass. And they were $1,254,319.70. So I was coming here tonight. I do have, before I say it,
Where are the other 2 contractors?
and I don't. I thought I had it. With about a lie. Okay, I thought I had I might have had the sheets for all the other companies, but apparently I don't. I do have the actual bid from Andre, who was the low bidder in the company we used last year, and I'm gonna be honest with you, they did the best paving job we've had in many years last year, for what it's worth. Whatever your pleasure is, it's June. We're a little, took a while to get things put together, but I'm just here asking you what you want to do.
Basically, I make a comment.
Yep.
So we have a special meeting. I just saw, 27th, the meeting on the 20th was canceled.
Correct.
Perhaps we could put it on for the 27th and notice it. One of the reasons is besides the bid issue that we, just went through on the other one, we had periodically, we have people coming in complaining about road surfaces and roads. A lot of them may be state roads that don't have anything to do with the paper. I don't know about, but we periodically have people come in and complain about roads, and putting it on the agenda and publishing it out, give people an opportunity to come in. We just added this item to the agenda, so someone that wanted to comment on it wouldn't had an opportunity to sign for the night. So suggesting maybe we move it to the 27th, get the bids, and then we can. That's a fairly substantial contract. I'm sold $1 million.
The bid gonna hold that long?
Or,
Will the bid hold that long?
yeah. It's got to hold for at least 30 days, which is only today. My question would be, do you want the entire do you want the entire, all the verbiage, or do you want what we had was, there were sheets where we gave them quantities and items, and they bid out the item, by item so much per whatever. Is that adequate enough for your review, or?
Well, then what I also look for is if they have if they submit their, like, I don't call qualifications, but sometimes they submit their, list of equipment they use and their personnel and maybe jobs that they've done.
This I don't have the others with me.
Right.
This particular company did.
I like to see that. It doesn't sound like there's only 3.
References, there's 3.
And there may be 10 or 15 pages each, so my preference would be done.
I mean, I'll do it, but whatever your pleasure is,
Yeah, see the whole back.
we'll have copies of whatever you want.
Should I make the motion to postpone that until our next meeting? Or do we not need that?
I'm not even sure.
Don't need it?
We would need it. I have concerns about, how far into the paving season that now gets us, but.
Would you be?
Phone it to a regular scheduled meeting. I think we have to move it to a specific special meeting. We're gonna do it on the 27th. Right?
I don't think that's.
Or
It
would
doesn't
you,
have to put on the agenda anyway, but I don't think there's any parameters around that.
or would you want to have a special meeting just for that topic before that, if you're concerned that that's too far ahead?
I would like to do that, yeah.
Okay.
And I would probably do it for immediately preceding the Board of Finance meeting.
Okay.
What's the date of the finance meeting?
I don't know. It's the 19th.
No, the week after.
Board of Finance, the 18th.
Yes.
We should meet before then. I guess it's got to go there.
No, not a bit of work.
Yeah, we should do it for.
So I don't entertain a motion to postpone it until a special meeting to be scheduled on June 18th.
Move that we postpone this bid paving until a special meeting to be held on Tuesday, June 18th
At 6:30.
at 6:30 p.m.
What day is it?
It's a Tuesday.
Any discussion? Understood.
But I'd like to get a copy of the information.
Yeah, we'll have a packet distributed.
And I simply just give my comment.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
packages here ahead of time, so you guys can get them. So you're not sitting here at. Appreciate it. We good?
We're good, thank you.
Will we have it by the morning of the 17th?
I hope I'll have it next week.
Oh, okay.
I'm not, yeah, I'm gonna, I
Thank you.
might do them, have my assistant do them tomorrow. But I probably won't get them here like this week, but yes, you'll, plenty of time.
Before you step away, would you have any role or have any opinion on an E24 referral? That have come across your desk as an engineer or no?
The 8 for a while.
Parcel of potential town-owned property on South Water Street.
I think I've seen it.
Okay, yeah, that, I wouldn't be surprised if that were the case, I just figured why we had to. Okay, thank you very much.
Oh, I did see it. It's,
Planning and zoning.
wait a minute, it's near, right across from Spring Street.
Yes.
Correct.
I didn't get an 824 referral, but,
You were.
oh, I got it from Patty, something from Patty.
Yep.
That's.
And then I went through PCC and now it's in front of us. Do you have an opinion on that?
We actually may have, it's hard to determine, we actually have drainage that goes down through there. We redid the drainage on South Water Street and brought some down from, on Spring. We have a manhole and a separator there. It's supposed to be on town property, but it may actually be in an easement on that property, so no, I don't have a problem.
This property,
Actually, it'll clean it up.
Okay.
this property is adjacent.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't see you there. I'm sorry, I thought you weren't here, which is why I asked. I haven't, I haven't seen you at all.
I'm trying to find her.
Sorry, why you may go. Good evening.
She was lower in the heat.
I never saw her.
I freeze, so you guys can be.
So you're the next call on the agenda anyway. So the E24 referral, tell us what we're looking at.
Okay, I heard from the tax collector about property on the tax sale. It is located at the end of Spring Street on the riverside of South Water Street. It is I got all this stuff written down on a copy of this and I took a percent copy of it. It is 0.12 acres. And it is adjacent to a town-owned property that is plain old land. So you get about 1/4 of an acre if you combine the two. And I should say on May 28th, the Planning and Zoning Commission did make a positive referral on this. Because the parcel lies within an area that is on the Warehouse Point study for bike trails and pedestrian trails, as well as the Route 5 corridor study that they depict a bike path up to the trail that's in the Warehouse Point study. So it's a long haul to get enough property along South Water Street to have a path like that. But I thought perhaps a pocket park or a bench or, something looking over the river made sense. So the commission did make that positive referral. That would allow the town to, I'm not sure the process or the town
We have
bids.
to bid it tax.
So.
That's the property board.
I'm
That's the
sorry.
current property board.
You have the proper.
Oh, the what's due is 1,209 and 90 cents. Just the one.
So that's what they owe.
That's what they owe.
What is the property? board?
Oh, the property value.
Yeah, it's assessed
Thank you.
$500.
$500.
So if we want to move forward with this, the motion would be to authorize the first selectman or his designee on behalf of the town to bid on the map block lot 101-05015 at tax.
Oh, what happened to make that motion? Oh, discussion.
Is there a second
Second.
for discussion? Go ahead.
Yeah, a question, I'm sorry. I was at that meeting, so I was there, so I'm on top of that, but it said in favor, it's got Paulson, third, Scobin, and then a LEASON. Who is that?
Dave Leeson.
Who?
Dave Leeson. Paul, guy with goatee.
Apparently I missed him. Was he at the meeting?
Yeah. Okay.
Completely missed him. Well, I don't know who that was.
Find out when they approve the minutes.
Yeah, I know, I'm saying, no, sorry, I know I was there.
Are there any other comments on the motion?
So I was at the meeting too, I heard all the discussion, it sounds like we should be accepting the A24 referral and moving forward, but I think we should establish maybe a bid price. I mean, right now it's open-ended, maybe we should have some point have an executive session so we can give you some guidance as to
I think that would be a good idea. I do not want to do that right now.
right? Yeah, we don't want to do that in public, but I mean, before, we are authorizing you on the vote, but I think we should set the limits. So we don't really know what's gonna happen.
Do we want to, well, we can't do this in tonight's executive session.
So the bidding, the 11th,
When's the bid?
June 11th.
Oh, we have to do this.
What, so there's a motion on the table, let's act on the motion, and we'll take up whatever happens next. Accordingly. Any other comment? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank you. All right, moving right along. We have two items pertaining to the town's application for a small cities community development block grant on behalf of Park Hill. Outgoing executive director Linda Collins is here, as is Melissa LaBelle, who does all of the administrative work associated with this. So I'm going to put you on the spot, and I know, and ask you to please explain the resolution, why we need it, and what you'd like us to do.
The resolution is to, appoint me as a citizen.
No, we're on C.
C.
So how about I try and set the table, you can correct me when I get this wrong. So our consultant who helps administer our special development block grant applications, Kent Lewis, is working on putting together the package for our submission, and there are a couple of open-ended items that we need to satisfy before our application would be deemed eligible. One of which is a resolution from the Board of Selectmen authorizing us to submit the application. That's what Ken told us we needed, right? That's all I know about it. I know what the project is. Melissa does, 99.5% of the work associated with it. So I'm parroting what she has told me offline. So if I've missed anything, feel free. Otherwise, that's the best I have. We're familiar with the project. We've been supportive of what Park Hill has done with these in the past. We understand what they're trying to do with it now. So if we want to move the application forward, we need to adopt the resolution.
What are we doing with this grant money? Which they tend of it?
That's the HVACs.
Small cities grant,
Yeah, for the mini splits.
we're doing a number of things, mini splits.
Yeah.
Energy efficient, window replacements, storm doors. Siding, including.
Yep.
Replacing the insulation, mini splits, as you said. Redoing the kitchen cabinets, flooring, new stoves.
Yep.
And hopefully.
It's coming back to me now.
Mhm.
I said, it's coming back to me now.
Okay. There's a lot, plus, and I think one of the highlights is hopefully we'll be getting additional generators installed throughout the property in addition to the generator that we have in the community hall, so.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, I ask for a motion.
Make a motion that we authorize the first selectman to
No, I don't sign that. We have to adopt the resolution.
make a motion that we adopt the resolution to certify the resolution, the applicant, small city grant.
you could say about that, add that one to item 9C.
Yeah, as referenced in item 9C on the agenda.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, now, the second piece of what we need to do to satisfy our small cities submission is we need to designate a citizens participation contact person. Now I'm gonna ask Melissa to go ahead and explain what that is.
So if, after we make the application for the small cities grant, if any citizen or resident of the town of East Windsor has any question, any complaints, any concerns, they come to me and I am able to either answer the questions or we forward the questions onto the consultant or Lincoln Hopkins.
But just for my application, the town is the grantee and Park Hill is the sub grantee, right?
So recipient, yes.
So that's why it's Melissa who's the point of contact for this, and then somebody at Park Hills is, we are actually the recipient of the
Yes.
dollars.
Is this new? Because we've never done this before.
I'm sorry.
I don't recall ever doing this before.
So it's
I
been
think
like
it's
7 years since we got this, right? I was not in office.
They have new parameters this year.
Oh, they do.
Yeah,
Because I'm saying I'm not, don't recall that either.
the former application that we were awarded was the tower
Yeah.
conversion. That was I was like halfway through by the time we all took office. So I don't know if this is a big part of the process.
Yeah, I don't have a problem.
Any further discussion?
We didn't make a motion.
I was gonna get to that next.
Oh,
Would you like to?
yeah, motion. I thought you were ready to call for a vote. I'll move that we designate Melissa LaBelle as the citizen participation coordinator for the community development block grant small cities program.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay,
So just for clarification, now that it's passed, so if a resident had a question, they would go to Melissa before they would go to the front end.
Yep.
Mhm. I would just make sure that there's a policy put out there for the residents so they know what to do, because you're gonna have concerns, I'm sure.
okay, we're moving on to agenda item 9E, which is that's my big loss. Which is the application concerning the community placement initiatives. This is a community investment fund application that we put together. I did just hand out the narrative, which was inadvertently omitted from the package, so I want to give everybody a minute or two to read that over. In the meantime, I need to go to my office and grab something. So
This is the same that was emailed to us.
it is the same that was emailed, but I just want to make sure everybody's had a chance to take a look at it. I will be back in 1 second.
That's what I'm gonna give you myself.
No, that was the one. Even days that I'm gonna do expect all myself.
No,
Okay, so what the application seeks to do is take an opportunity to build placemaking and make streetscape improvements within the community. It's got a number of different components to it, but it really is to help facilitate property investment. It would make investments along the corridor, between Bridge Street, and, oh, where's the map?
Which we need.
Yeah, between Bridge Street and Main Street and Warehouse Point, and along Main Street and Rye Street and Broad. The town will use the funds for this project for design, construction, and implementation of physical improvements to increase pedestrian safety, accessibility, and a sense of place. And the second component of the project will be to implement a property rehabilitation incentive program. Program will provide access to funding to correct exterior health and safety violations or code compliance issues. And it will also fund facade repairs, exterior pedestrian accessibility improvements, or other non-luxury work. Funding will be offered as a 0% interest loan, deferring payment until an identified change in title or circumstance occurs. So this was that project that we had tried to do through the congressionally directed spending framework, but it didn't really fit any of the buckets of federal money. So what I asked Mike D'Amato to do is kind of dust that off and reshape it to a community investment fund application. The deadline for this is coming up very, very quickly. I think we have to have it in also on the 11th, I think, 14th, sometime next week. So if we're gonna move forward with it, I wanted to bring it to you guys so that we could have the vote today and advance. That's what we're trying to do.
So I like this, I like the layout here. We talked about this, some of this before. And so I'm gonna support it with the CIF application. The only question or concern I have is that it seems that if we get the money, this should come back to the board of selectmen with maybe some public discussion about what the public wants for these corridors. For example, there's parklets, there's bicycle racks, there's a whole bunch of improvements that are planned for these main pieces in Warehouse Point and Main Street here. And I'd like it to be able to, you know, have us have some imprint on it, or at least the public be able to come in and say, this is what they want, or they don't want. And the same thing with the funds for houses in need of repair, you know, deciding whether it's gonna be low income people, disabled people, whether they have to pay it back, how they're gonna pay it back if they sell their home within a period of time. I'd like to see if we could have that come back and have us set policy on that after we get town inputs, rather than get the CAF money and then just goes into the town department and they roll it out.
Oh, no, we would have to do some sort of a criteria development here. This is just putting our market down. This is what we want to do. And then I would agree, we need to flesh out a process by which that all aspects of that is kind of administered.
Roll out through us, through the public and through the town staff.
I would be opposed to having it done through P&C, honestly, but those are conversations we can have once we get the award.
Okay, but I think the concepts are really important, and thank you for putting it together, and let's see if we can get this CAF money quicker than that.
It is a competitive process, and there's only a few rounds left, and we've already been generously awarded by them. $4 million for the water line was tremendous. Are there other comments?
Yes.
Sarah?
I guess I just have some questions on the verbiage. I understand this is a summary and I might be going too far ahead, but just for example, on the property rehabilitation incentive program, it's just to correct exterior health and safety violations or code compliance issues. Like, who is that according to? Is that something that we'll be discussing in the future as to know what those issues are? It seems like we're going down the blight road again, which was voted down, so I just want to make sure.
This is the other blight road. We did the stick, this is the carrot.
Mm-hmm.
And so there is a little bit of a difference there.
Okay,
Code violations are code violations.
Right.
There's no ambiguity there. That's zero sum. It is or isn't.
mm-hmm.
Some of the other aspects of it probably have that piece of subjectivity that we tried for 2 years to legislate out. And I mean, I'm not suggesting we revisit the blight ordinance. I'm
Right.
suggesting we revisit a different way of solving the underlying problem. But Keith makes a good point that we need to figure out how we're going to administer that. All good problems once we get the money.
Right, and is there going to be like criteria for applying or income levels, or how would that work? I mean, maybe we don't know that yet, right?
Right.
I think it's a good idea. I just think there's gonna be a lot of work with everyone agreeing on what it actually means. Sounds repetitive. Sounds like something we just went through.
Carrot and stick.
Can I make a motion?
Sure.
I'll make a motion that we authorize the first selectman to submit the CIF application concerning community placemaking initiative.
Any further discussion?
Yeah, I'd just like to say that was Sarah's concerns were exactly my concerns, and I can see me probably mining that blight ordinance for some of the criteria for that rehabilitation.
We may have a starting point already. That's what he's talking about. Let's see if we can do it. Any further comments?
So what's the next step in this?
We submit it to the CIF board and they undertake a several months long review process
Okay,
before they make their determinations.
thank you.
We've submitted, I think, sure it's still here, 3 times or 4 times for CIF. This would be our 3rd or our 4th. This would be our 3rd, right?
We had a review of the first one. So, yeah, this would be the one.
Yeah. We were successful once. We were not successful the other 2 times, and this one's, we're going for 50-50. Second,
Yes, thank you.
all in favor? Opposed? Okay. All right, where does that bring us now? Yeah, I would like to take H first, though, if I could.
Make a motion to go out of order under new business, 9H.
Second,
Any discussion?
Basically, we do think about maybe doing G, superintendents here, we got the Board of Education.
I've got a sequence, I'm sure Patrick doesn't mind hanging around for another couple of minutes. I have a sequence of events and he's gonna be needed for a couple of them. All in favor?
aye.
All right, so. Amy, are you still with us?
I am.
Okay, so we're coming up on year end. And we have some business that we need to take care of from a financials perspective. First of all, we have a policy that says that our fund balance, our undesignated fund balance is supposed to be between 10 and 20%. We are right now about $2 million north of that threshold. So we're at roughly 20, is it 24%, Amy?
Yes.
Okay, so according to our own policy and the requirements that the auditors are going to be looking at when they come this year, we need to spend down that surplus to get to the maximum level that's allowable. There are 3 projects that have been identified by staff that are really kind of pressing and high dollar amount. Some of these have actually come up in other selectmen's meetings. And I'm going to ask that we consider these and if favorable, move them onto the Board of Finance and the town meeting. The biggest one, obviously, from a dollar perspective, is the cost of the radio system. Chief Carl and I and a number of others will be going to Hartford tomorrow for the bond commission meeting, where the bond commission is expected to authorize an $8 million bond for the town of East Windsor for the replacement of our emergency radio system, which is just a tremendous bond authorization, actually, in general. So that's a very exciting prospect. However, there is going to be the requirement that there be a local match component to it. We have spent or committed so far about $75,000 for consultants in the study associated with the development of a replacement system. We know from the state that there is going to have to be some component of a local match, and we also know that as of now, the price of the replacement of the emergency radio system is in excess of $8 million and is in excess of $9 million. So we are still working to parse out which pieces of this multi-town, multi-jurisdictional emergency radio system rightly belong to the town of East Windsor versus some of our partners. And we're also working through Chief Carl and through the Department of Emergency Services and Public Protection to impress upon the vendor who offered the quote that their number is still too high. So there's still some work to be done to hone in on what that final number is, but we know that we're going to be required to have a local match. We know that it's going to probably be somewhere around $1 million in order to accomplish the project. And we know that we have $1 million that can be committed from the fund balance towards that project. Chief Carl, did I hit all the points that I needed to on that? Yep.
I think so.
Amy? Amy's good.
I'm fine. I'm having terrible thunderstorms here in New Jersey. So,
Did you hear the points that I raised? Did I cover them as I needed to?
yes, yes.
Okay.
And I think $1 million is the right price we need.
Questions or comments on this recommendation?
I have a first one, take a step back and ask Amy a question. What is the unencumbered, unallocated fund balance is how much right now?
24%.
What's the dollar amount?
North of 10 million.
And what's the encumbered fund balance?
There is no encumbered fund balance. The only thing we encumber is the 1.2 million that we've done in the budget the last couple of years. The only other thing encumbered is if we prepaid something or had inventories, and we just have about 30 grand of school stuff, cafeteria food.
Do we have any?
So
projects?
when I give you a $10 million fund balance price, that's the unencumbered fund balance. And it can only be 8 million and change based on the 20% cap off the next year budget.
I thought I looked at the audit report and it listed the encumbered fund balance of being several $1 million. Those were for projects that had been designated, that had been approved, but not yet spent. And the money was
Oh,
sitting
so
there.
you're not looking at just general fund. You're looking at all the funds. So all the capital money, all the grant money. So you're looking at all the funds together. You need to look, I think it's page 15 and it's the first column and it's towards the bottom. And that would give you the general fund balance. That's what we're speaking of tonight.
Well, I thought last time I asked if there was a separate budget, not in the general fund for grants. And your answer was, I thought that there was a separate budget with all the grant money sitting there. And I thought our fund balance cap, which is a policy, not a law or anything, but that policy is not based on the grant money. It's based only on the fund balance part of it. Am I right?
Right, the general fund. So that needs to be less than 20% of next year's budget.
But
So if you do the math of,
But that's a town policy. That's not actuarial requirement, right?
well, it's a Board of Finance policy, so we have to follow it. It's just like any other accounting policy. When you make a policy that says you're going to get bids for anything greater than X, or you're going to keep fund balance between X and Y, once you guys or the Board of Finance makes those policies, we have to abide by them.
Well,
You can't just
also has an
choose
effect on
to
our
ignore
bond
them.
rating. You know, it also has an effect on our bond rating. There's too much in there when we do issue a bond.
Right. Well, my understanding is that the effect of the bond rating is dependent on a variety of factors you're saying. But I'm just trying to understand, is there pressure that we have to spend this money or we're gonna have some legal trouble? Or is there pressure that we have to spend this money because we'll be outside of our policy, which is not such a big deal in
Then
terms of, right?
It will be a comment in our audit that we're
Right.
not following our own accounting policy.
Yeah. But
So yes, it will be a problem, not legally, but for our own internal, that the auditors are going to make it a comment, which then would be reflected in our financial statements out there for our bond people.
But we've had several,
So we
annual-
really need to get it under. I asked if we had to spend it before June 30, and he said, no, you need to get it under by June 30th.
Well, I've seen that we've had a number.
I didn't hear the question. Annual report, what?
Oh, we've had several annual reports where it stated that we're above the fund balance threshold. And that's just a statement in the annual report. That didn't reflect negatively on the town. Can I ask a question? Can we designate the money for the radio without approving the radio project and just put it in encumbered, allocated fund balance rather than the unallocated fund balance, and therefore have our percentage of unallocated fund balance below the threshold without having actually approved the project, but us.
No, your guys' commitment is not enough to make it to be spent. What we need to do is transfer it over to CNR and put it in a radio project, which we already have a radio project out there. So it would just be adding it to that.
Could we take the excess and return it as revenue and reduce taxes?
That's what we do, and you had a problem with that during the budget process.
I did, I still do. I have a problem with spending, well, my problem is, I'm not so concerned about the radio project, because as I understand it, that would be only for matching purposes. Because of the grant application, so. We designate $1 million for the radio projects to be used for matching, then I'm good with that, because that's a future expense that we're planning for. And it's assuming that we're gonna get the state funding for the bulk of the project. I'm okay with that. The other one is in terms of the roofs, which we haven't hit yet. We don't even have any data. We haven't received any reports for either of these roofs. We just heard the other day that there was leaking at the Broadwood Fire Department. We haven't gotten a engineering report or anything for either of these roofs, and we're supposed to vote tonight to spend $1.2 million on roofs that we haven't seen any data. So I have a problem with those, but I don't have a problem with $1 million for the radio system, which was described thoroughly by the chief and by all the staff. They came in and told us at length about what's happening with that, to be used for matching purposes for the grant application that came in. And if we don't get the match, we'll have to figure out what to do with that one. So I'm okay with that.
If we don't get what, I don't understand.
I'm sorry, if we don't get the state grant, we'll have to figure out.
We'll know by 11 o'clock tomorrow.
Oh, is that true?
Yes.
Okay, well, that's good. So I mean, I would support the radio at the, as I just said, as long as it's used for matching purposes. The other two, we haven't even seen any data from any engineer saying what needs to be done on those roofs, which is gonna cost, and for us just to approve spending money out of the fund balance for something like that is there's a lot of other priorities in town for spending money for projects, including capital projects that are sitting there that haven't been done, haven't been approved. So anyway, that's my thought about it. And I just want to say, I'd like to see us get a breakdown of the grant account, because we're keep hearing we got a fund balance, but tonight we're hearing all the funds are under the cap, and we haven't seen this grant account showing how much money is in there and what the projects are, and that's for another night. Okay.
If you were just looking at the audit, Keith, the grant is a column within the audit. It says grant funds right in there. So you have a balance sheet, you have an income statement, you have all the different detail on it.
I don't have the detail of what projects have been designated for approval within the grant budget, and I don't know how much excess money that's unallocated that's sitting in the grant account. And I
Oh, there's nothing excess. There's nothing excess in the grant. When
This
we
is
get a
the-
grant, we get it for a very specific purpose. And that's all it can be spent on.
Yeah, it's not.
There's no
Can't move
excess
around.
money.
Any other comments?
I do, and to your point, not knowing the specifics on the roof, and then we're appropriating money now. Then we'll get bids, we'll see, all that stuff will be done. That process is next. We're doing the appropriation now. That's, I think, appropriate. I think this goes to the fact that we historically have not taken care of our stuff, and I think we get caught up in all these I'm not going to spend it kind of things, and then we just don't do the work that needs to be done. And then before you know it, we have 3 schools that are worthless. So I think this is getting stuff done that needs to get done, and I think it's a good idea, and I support it.
Well, let me just, if I could just comment, Alan, the Barton Fire Department is a building that they decided needs to be, they need to move from that building, they need to move the building. Sure. And the seniors center is moving out of that building.
Sure.
So we're gonna be looking at an empty building.
And we'll still own it. And this is a great point, right? So we'll still own it. And if we don't do the roof, we'll have an empty building with a hole in the roof. That's probably not something that's going to be advantageous.
Right, but I mean, fixing the building and again, they said it was leaking. I don't know if that's a hole in the roof or it needs an entire new roof, but to fix the building the right way, we should know what the future purpose is gonna be, and then we should build it to those specifications. And that will probably include some aspects of the roof, in my opinion.
That still is 8, 10 years away before we know what that's going to be. And we still have a roof with a hole in it, at least.
Then it shouldn't cost, I mean, I'm not saying it shouldn't cost or not, but it's $400,000 to patch a hole in a roof. Seems like a lot of money. We have.
It's to replace the roof.
I know, Rob.
We're not like, it's not like our camp in Vermont, we patch the roof, a little hole, and, we go on and patch the next hole, we fix the roof.
We have leaking roofs at the schools. I mean, I've gone to the facilities meetings.
Next on the list,
It's not on this list.
BDFT, oh, sorry.
Fire department, that's what we're talking about. We have leaking roofs at the schools. There's asbestos. I don't want to say that. I don't want to start a problem with that. There are issues at the schools that need work. We have a lot of infrastructure in town. I get it that these are projects that are sitting up here, but I'd like to see an engineering report at the minimum that says, we need to replace the roof at these facilities. I haven't heard anything about the Department of Public Works roof since I've been on board.
It's been talked about since we've been on board.
We've been on board.
So there should be an engineering study saying that the roof needs to be replaced.
I believe there is.
I haven't seen this, so I wouldn't feel comfortable with moving the.
Any other comments?
There should be information in your CIP for the last budget process we just went through. Those projects have been on the CIP group for many years. I think all the years I've been here.
Yeah, you're right.
Including the pricing, right?
Yes, pricing is in there. And what needs to happen and drawings and.
Any other comments? So my recommendation would be to approve the funding for these 3 projects at those amounts and forward it to the Board of Finance for their consideration and if approved to town.
Could we break them out?
Sure.
I'll move to approve the amount of $2 million from.
No, just use the projects individually.
Oh, I'm sorry, okay, move to approve the radio project. And forward, you wanted just to say and forward it to the Board of Finance
And
and
town meeting.
if approved to town meeting
Add a dollar amount of
at a dollar amount of $2 million. No,
$990.
oh, I'm sorry. Okay,
Sorry.
sorry, I can't see, I don't, at a dollar amount of 990, yeah, okay. Let me get your glasses.
Second,
Any discussion?
Just to make sure we have a record of it, we said tonight that would be used for matching against the state funding.
Correct.
On that basis, I'm gonna support this.
Correct. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
The total is too.
Yeah.
I'm sitting closer.
You want to do the roof?
oh, sure, and move to approve $790,000 for the Department of Public Works roof, forward that to the Board of Finance and potentially town meeting.
I was hoping for 8, but we'll take that 90.
Oh, but change that, I'm sorry, make that 800. I had written it down originally.
Is it 790 or 8?
It is 800.
Is there a second? Any discussion?
Yes.
Yes.
So again, I think we should be making decisions that are data driven. To vote on things from sort of like, I'm gonna say vague references to, we've heard this before, it's at the CIP or the drawing somewhere, or this has been discussed before, isn't the kind of data that I would need to be able to vote yes. I think we should have actual data in front of us, including an engineering report saying that roof needs to be replaced and what the approximate cost and total I'm not going to be supporting something that doesn't have actual data that I can review to make an informed decision.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Robert Fire Department Group.
Making a motion to approve $400,000, still $400,000. Fire department roof. Forward that to the Board of Finance, potentially town meeting.
Second.
Any discussion?
Yes. So besides reiterating my comments a moment ago about not having data to rely on to make these decisions, this issue about the roof leaking came up literally 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago. That's the first time it was reported to us that it was leaking.
No. That's the first time it was reported to this iteration of the report.
All right, first time that we as a board of selectmen heard that as a group that the roof was leaking, they should have an engineering report or some kind of data to be able to give us so we can make an informed decision.
I would like to just reiterate my earlier remarks. I look forward to seeing the bid package. And I know that this has been an issue for a while. It just popped up out of the blue, so I'm looking forward to getting it fixed as quickly as possible.
Yeah, that's.
Jason, can I just ask what the dates are next to it? Is that meeting
that's-
today and then?
That's the proposed timeline for when things would happen. So it would go to us tonight.
Yeah.
It would go, June 18th is actually when the Board of Finance is meeting, and then we would have a town meeting the week of the week following. So it could be done before the end of the fiscal year.
That show the full day because the
Yeah,
column isn't pulled over.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
See,
like,
yeah,
But, well, also, not for nothing, the last date is somewhat in flux. It's probably going to be the 27th now. That actually would say the 26th if I had pulled it up, but the goal is to make sure that we're satisfying that before the end of the fiscal year. Any other comments? No, I'm transposing something else here. Any other comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
no,
Motion carries. That satisfies fund balance. Now I would like to go into agenda item 9G, which is the discussion of the replacement of the high school track. Patrick, I'm going to start this, and if there are things you want to add to it, that would be great. So first of all, as part of the stabilization agreement between the town of East Windsor and Gravel Pit Solar, they committed to what's called an impact payment of $1.5 million to be used for capital infrastructure projects. We also did a reclass of ARPA dollars that had been committed for the engineering for the replacement for the high school track of $120,000. Those need to be committed by the end of this year and expended by the end of calendar 2026. Patrick and his team have worked on developing quotes. They have, and I think I included them in your packet. Or at least the low bid one.
I do have the others if the rest of the board is interested.
So there's updated quote that is listed as 9G in your packet. The work would be $470,000 to replace the 6-lane track at the high school. And it's recommended that we also carry a $100,000 contingency for overruns or tree removal as part of that project. As Kate said, it doesn't say that it's part of the project, it's part of the contingency overrun. So it's not part of their quote. So that for call it $570,000, we can get the track replaced this summer. What I would like to do is reallocate the formerly allocated ARPA dollars for the track engineering to offset a portion of the cost of that, which would bring the total down to $450,000 that we need. This is a worksheet, I'm sorry. So we would need $120,000 in ARPA dollars plus $450,000 out of Gravel Pit Solar. We have received to date from them $600,000. And there are 3 more $300,000 payments that are due between now and when the facility goes operational. It's a clearly qualifying capital infrastructure project. It is a need that has been identified for a very long time. The due diligence has been done to make sure that the pricing and the quote are in line. I will tell you that the price did go up $70,000 from what we initially thought it was, only because well, it's good for 30 days, and we're at day like 34 or something. So we want to move on this if we're going to move it forward. So the motion here, once we make it, and I'm going to give Patrick or Kate an opportunity to speak. No, that's just illustrative. It's not accurate. So the motion would be to authorize the expenditures of $450,000 from the gravel pit solar impact payment funds, and to allocate $120,000 from the town's American Rescue Plan Act authorization, and forward them to the Board of Finance and to town meeting. So with that, Patrick, Kate, anything you'd like to share?
I mean, I know a number of you participated in the SIP tours through all our buildings and facilities in the fall. And for those that walk on the track, clearly you can see certainly it's in despair and needs to be replaced. I can tell you that it has been determined that it is unusable going into next year due to safety concerns. I can tell you at board meetings, we've got both fellow and current students speak regarding not even wanting to use their track shoes on it in fear of what essentially the damage even causes to their shoes. I can tell you I participated senior day where I observed and watched the other teams come, and there's comments that are being made under their breath that, I mean, clearly anyone that hears as far as about the condition of the track. So again, certainly it's something that's vastly needed, and certainly I can tell you we are able to move in a timely fashion. This company has assured us that it could get the work done prior to the opening of school in September, which also would cause minimal disruption in our sports. So any considerations greatly appreciated.
I just reiterate that and what I said earlier.
Good.
It's a strong program and we'd like to continue to support it. Had some issues with some of our sports, kind of going down in participation, and this continues to be strong. So we'd love to be able to continue to have, to improve the track so that they can continue to use it.
Question.
Fire away.
Okay, on the second page, the last bullet point, it says fuel and freight costs will be recalculated at time of order shipment due to rising transportation costs. Fuel and freight costs are subject to change orders without notice. So what would that figure be if they were to do that? And then if we were to approve this, would we be short the money? Since it's basically up to them?
I can't imagine that fuel costs would go up by $100,000, which is part of what the contingency would cover.
And then also, is there maintenance of the track that should be done? And who would be doing the maintenance to ensure that the quality of the track stays the way pristine, the way it should stay for a number of years?
Well, certainly ongoing maintenance would extend the life of any asset. The town has an MOU with the Board of Education to provide certain grounds maintenance. This would not be included in that, so it would be on the Board of Ed to make sure that those ongoing maintenance costs are part of their budget.
And we do have a athletic director. In the past, we have done some maintenance and there's been like treatment to weeds and that type of thing as part of it. But there's been patched out, but not to the level we would like. And so with a new track, I think we would make a plan as part of our facilities committees as well, that would be something that we would make sure to support because it is important. We don't want to end up in the same situation. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, just a piggyback off of that too. Our board does have a facilities subcommittee, and that is newly formed. But it has been meeting regularly since I want to say around January, February. And meets on a monthly basis. So even with that subcommittee, there's additional oversight as far as addressing our overall facilities needs.
And we also do have an athletic subcommittee that's talked a little bit about, you know, track and other things related to athletics as well. So we have more new active committees that we're trying to take a closer look at some of these things and ongoing maintenance concerns.
And they also meet monthly, actually, they meet on the same day of the month, one is a morning meeting.
Morning, that's gotta be rough.
I'm there at 9, I'm back at 6.
I was gonna say, for the retirees on the board, they can make the day.
She's not retiring.
Well, this is true. I didn't mean to just make any assumptions, Noreen. I'm sorry.
I wish I were.
So I'm a little confused with,
Sorry, replay.
I'm sorry, I'm a little confused with, the exclusions that are here. And what costs may be associated with all of those exclusions. My biggest one was the same that she brought up, but I'm concerned about the rest of them. Engineering, design, cost, construction, entrance, maintenance, locating, relocating, removing, repairing, assisted utilities, and all of that. It's all of these been looked into.
So what I can share is that myself and Joe Salahofer, through DPW, looked at the quote itself, looked at the exclusions, and as far as like the contingency, that was based on his input. As far as engineer designs, there are no engineer designs required, and the company has confirmed that.
And my other concerns, today, there's a large group of middle school students that are interested in track. Some of those students are be going to the high school. I don't know, I don't have the numbers. But our graduating class right now is 54, I understand. Give or take 1 or 2. And we're looking at, as Keith said, we're looking at feasibility studies of what we're going to do with our school system. A lot of money to be spending in today's economy for a track that we, and I'm not putting the blame on anybody, but I'm gonna say we as a town neglected for years. We have a tree that went through, that's did the initial damage. If we maintain it, I wouldn't have a problem, but I have a problem from what I see in the neglect that has taken place over the years. And I'm not criticizing anybody in the room, but over the years, there's been neglect. That concerns me to spend this kind of money for a track with that low number of students, and out of that 54, how many students are actually going to be running track next year? And is the high school the right place to put it, or should the track be put at the middle school?
I mean, we have students on the track team from all grades. I know we have a small senior class this year, but it's not like the whole team is graduating. We have.
Yeah, I mean, just to speak to that a little more, I mean, our current senior classes are lowest enrollment grade throughout the entire district. Also, the demographic enrollment study, which I know that we are having a joint board meeting to go over the results, but is I believe the document is out and available, shows a slight increase over the next 10 years with enrollment. And again, our track numbers have consistently been approximately 50 kids at the high school, and again, our middle school numbers support interest in the sport. I can tell you during a meeting with CSG, that question came up as far as like if any potential like new, like renovate to new type construction, do they foresee the location of the track moving in any scenario? And they said it was highly unlikely, obviously with the caveat, you never know, but it's highly unlikely. They foresee, based on all the information they have today, that the existing place of the track would remain.
The other thing to point out is this is a track at the high school that's going to be used by the high school track team, but it's not, that doesn't preclude the general public from participating. And I'm gonna put him on the spot, but when Chief Carl was in the getting ready for the National Academy, isn't that where you trained to get your cardio down to work?
I've got a top shape of that place.
Got the slowest mile, I think, at the high school.
It's a community recreational amenity beyond just, you know.
But is the high school the right place to put it with everything that they're looking at to do in the future. Because you're hearing all kinds of scenarios and you're hearing all kinds of changes that might be taking place. And it's a lot of money that if it's only gonna be used for 2 years or 3 years, and we don't have any plan to maintain it yet, who's gonna do it? I have major concerns, so I'm not gonna support it. I've said it right from the beginning, and there's nothing said tonight that it's gonna change my mind. I'm glad to see you looked at maybe relocating it to the middle school, and they didn't think it was an option, but I don't know why it wouldn't be an option. Right now, the kids are being transported to other towns to move from high school, bring them to the middle school, if that's a school that we think we're gonna keep. That could be just a rumor, we're not keeping that school. I don't know, but if that's the one we're gonna keep.
I
I
can
don't
tell you,
think we're
between
further
Dr.
down
Dugan
that.
and I, at least, none of those conversations have happened. So if you've heard that we're getting rid of this school and keeping that school, that is somebody who's having conversations apart from the first selectman and the superintendent.
Yeah, I don't think we're far enough down that road yet. I mean, we still want to do community surveys about what people think about these different plans. So to say that we're deciding which school to get rid of, quote unquote, right now, that's not a discussion that's happening at the Board of Ed.
Any other comments? Keith?
Couple questions. Patrick, I think that the track is in terrible condition. I've been over there with my wife walking that. It's pretty bad track. So, we're not approving, we wouldn't be approving a bid tonight. I don't understand this bid. I think we should be approving the allocation of the funds for this purpose. But has this been bid out or is this just a quote?
So we secured, so it has not gone like through RFP, it was, we secured 3 quotes, all from the state, bid list. So what you're looking is at the lowest of the 3 quotes.
When they're on the state bid list already?
Correct.
Yep.
Right. And then, I had a concern about the ARPA funds. Jason just talked about public use. I think that probably, well, I want to ask you about, is this track going to be available for public use after school use? Because in order to use ARPA funds, I think to qualify, we're gonna have to show that there's community benefit post-pandemic and it's gonna affect community health, it's gonna be available for the larger community. If there's a concern about the ARPA funds, I'd be more inclined to just use the GPF funds and leave the ARPA funds for another purpose. We know, has anyone done an analysis to see whether or not, well, do you think there'll be public use after hours?
I mean, I can tell you, it's, I mean, so I don't have any.
Sometimes
Hold on, let's let Dr.
Sorry.
So I don't have any survey data, but I can tell you, we have had, community members, reach out and as far as like the concern, as far as the status and their use of the track, I can tell you that all our school grounds have, always been open after hours as far as use. You'll see, at times, sometimes at middle school, walking the trail, you will see, people walking, at the high school track. I will tell you, I hear more feedback about, like I will not use the track based on the condition, like, you know, certainly like I hear about knee pain and stuff. More so, but just based on like conversation, it's my understanding is that there is an interest on that, but I don't have any like hard data to bring forward to say like so many people said they would use it if it was replaced on the community.
So I'm gonna support this. I think it's important for our schools and for our student health. Again, I'm concerned about the ARPA funds. I just want to say that, just to plant the seed, that down the road, if this beautiful track goes in and someone says, we can't let the public on it because it's too perfect and we don't want to damage it. I'm saying that I think we want to make sure if it has an ARPA purpose and we get funding for it, we make sure that the ARPA purpose is met. I'm not sure if the public use is the only criteria. As Alan said, you know, the fact that I think if you address disparities that occur during the pandemic in the educational process through the use of the track, that also probably would qualify, but just want to plant the seed.
No, I appreciate that point. I mean, I can tell you, I mean, the current like fencing structure, that there's not a lock gate. So I mean, drive your car, there's like, I've seen others where like the gate can be locked and we have no plans to change that like entry point either.
Just a comment on Marie's comment, you know, we have a small population of students. And the question will always, you know, do you want to fund this sports team? Do you want to fund this activity? Do you want to fund that? And we have to fund basics like basics, and in my opinion. And even if there's only relatively few students, and I think, the track and field and just a place for students to exercise is, to me, is basics, so. But I do appreciate what Marie said, it's a lot of money, the costs are astronomical for these projects, everything is so expensive right now, but it is, I mean, if you have 3 bids and this is in the range, then it is what it is, right, so.
This is the far low end of the range. The top one is 1.4, Patrick?
At 1.4, I mean, their argument was their project is, so superior.
Is it for Fairfield County? Is it Fairfield County crushed over?
And I believe they're located south.
That also tracks.
Yeah, I remember when they did when I was in South Windsor, they put the new track in the back at the high school, and it was less than this, and it had a turf field out there, and, there's a lot of controversy there about that, because, the neighbors didn't want to have, a lot of activities occurring on that field, lighting, et cetera. We don't have that, and, but it's important for that town, it's important for our town to have like basic facilities. This is not extravagant, this is just like basics.
Correct, it's basically, one of the reasons we don't need engineering is because it's replacing, the existing structure.
Okay, thank you.
So I just had one, and I know this isn't the contract, but I had one comment to make, that the number 1 exclusion, there was any bonds or bond costs, bonds available at 1.5%. I'm not sure what that means, but like, I would hope that when we do this, this follows our contract policy, and any construction work and has a bond attached and all that.
There's going to be a construction bond attached to it, but we are not going to have the bond project.
Okay. I just wanted to make
So
sure.
I'm not sure, I'm assuming, I read that to be, they were talking about if we wanted a bond to do that, but,
Yeah, I was confused.
we're gonna pay cash for this.
And then just a general comment, I've been going to the middle school track meets, and I was really shocked and surprised and delighted to see it's like 40, 45 kids. I also was surprised to see just how strong the team is, and they went to states. I think it was, I don't know exactly, but about 50% of them made states. This is their, I think, first year out.
It is their first year.
They just had a stellar first year, so I think this would be encouraging for them. So I support it.
I'm a big proponent of the school system offering sports. If I don't like when programs are cut, and it's really bad for the kids, and that's why they move out of district a lot of the time. So if we have the means to fund it here, I think it's a good thing. It might increase enrollment in the high school and make kids stay in school here and not move out of town. But I do ask that the Board of Ed really take a look at maintaining it, and it would be a shame if something happened and it wasn't maintained, because it is a lot of money, so.
If there's no further discussion, a motion would be in order, and my recommendation is to pair ARPA and gravel pit solar, because we need to get the ARPA dollars committed and moving along. So I would ask the motion be to authorize $120,000 in appropriation from our ARPA designation to the replacement of the high school track, and to allocate $450,000 from the gravel pit solar fund for the replacement of the high school track, and forward those to the Board of Finance and the town meeting.
So moved.
Second.
She was diligently writing. Any further discussion? I'm sorry.
That's okay, no, it's all, it's fine.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Tutrin, I'm not quite done with you.
I wasn't moving.
Okay, so that brings us now to end of year financials. Now, this is a different process. I gotta stop sharing that, sure. This is a different process. This does not require an action at all of the Board of Finance, the Board of Selectmen, but it does require an action solely of the Board of Finance. So Amy starts crunching numbers on where our year end is going to be a little bit before Valentine's Day. And she gives me updates pretty regularly thereafter to kind of focus in on what funds we may have available at the end of the year that would otherwise lapse back to the fund balance. You all just heard that we actually can't lapse things back to the fund balance because there's too much in there already for us to be in compliance with our policy. So what I have put together in consultation with the departments that are identified here is a list of different projects that allocates most of that $930,000 that Amy is expecting to have at the end of the year. And let me just take a step back from that and explain where that's coming from. The bulk of that is coming from debt and principal. It's coming from the 27th payroll, which was budgeted, but actually had already cleared. And it's coming from savings in our health insurance. There was an extra payment that had been budgeted in health insurance. And then beyond that, it's generally pretty small. A police officer salary has more savings, and that's considerable. So the first thing that I did is I looked at the budget presentation that I put forward back in February, and I looked at all of those things that had been cut from the budget to try and make sure that the budget that we could put forward to voters from an operations standpoint was as manageable and fiscally prudent as possible. I had told you then, and I'm reiterating, I had committed to those folks where cuts had been made, that if the opportunity allowed at the end of the fiscal year, I would try and restore some of those funding options. That is the case with road improvements, AEDs, cemetery paving. I'm just giving you a quick perusal. That's it. Those were budget cuts, the things that I had taken out of the budget that I would now like to try and satisfy. Beyond that, there was still quite a bit of available funding left over, so we started looking at those things that we knew we needed to do. We know we need to replace the water line at the middle school. That is mission critical to make sure that building stays operational. We have the engineering done for that, but we don't have a budget number for it yet. The operative budget number provided by Connecticut Water is $250,000. It may be more than that, it may be less than that, but that is the best number they can give us right now in order to capitalize on that funding. There was quite a bit of conversation about a project need at the elementary school, and the superintendent and the Board of Education agreed that the most pressing infrastructure need at the elementary school was the repair work needed for the chimney, and the budget number that I had most recently from that was $90,000. I'm going to just go with sequence here. So there have been comments and concerns over time about the sound system and the furnishings in this room. You can hear that the echo. Some people have a difficult time hearing what's going on up here. So we priced out what it would cost to install a sound system that would be amplified but not echoey, and update the furniture in here, and that's a $20,000 budget number. The town received an ARPA grant through the Department of Aging and Disability Services for $32,000 for gym equipment at the community center, which is one of those things that is not budgeted. Total price on that and the local match requirement is $18,336. So that would allow us to capitalize on that full ARPA grant through ADS. We just talked about the bid that had gone out for the drainage work to be done on Tromley Road. This is the funding that actually allows that project to move forward. The police department has made note of the need for certain supplies and storage equipment in their police cruisers. They're called storage boxes. Chief Carl, if you guys have questions, can further explain what that is. It's much more nuanced than simply boxes of stuff. They actually have a true public safety law enforcement need, and if you need clarification, you can articulate. But the budget number for that is $15,500. There have been concerns raised over a number of years about the lack of signage in front of town hall and the town hall annex. One of the reasons that we don't have that is it's currently illegal for us to have signs in front of town-owned buildings. It's in violation of our own zoning regulations, which, by the way, holds true for the Board of Ed, just saying. And the fire department. It's great that they have them. They're a nice community amenities, and the Planning and Zoning Commission is working on amending the zoning regulations to allow for us to put those in. The budget cost to install two of those, one in front of the town hall, one in front of the annex, is $70,000, which is actually a little bit less than that, but it's about $33,000 a piece at each of those two locations. Ruth Calabrese actually in her travels around town made note of the signage entering the industrial park. There is a really tired sign announcing you're entering the East Windsor Industrial Park. And I'm not entirely sure who put it there, or who's responsible for its upkeep and replacement, but it is on town property. I don't believe the town put it there. I think this is something that the founders of the industrial park set up 1,000 years ago. Just said the town will take care of it. We haven't found any evidence of that. However, it is in pretty dilapidated condition, and Ruth suggested and did the research to get a quote for the project that that would be something that we could do as an improvement to kind of our commercial corridor. The police department K-9 vehicle replacement has had a number of iterations over the course of this project. Circumstances kind of carry the day. We had a police officer, our K-9 officer was involved in a car accident 2 weekends ago. Thankfully, no injuries to him or to the K-9, but the vehicle is totaled. And in working with Kerma and with Chief Carl, the replacement for that vehicle would be, we need $58,000, and that gets that project effectively done. And then the last project is upgrading of the phone system at the police department. That's budgeted at $21,000, and the concern around that is that the current system they have is antiquated, it's old, and it's drawing off of their high-speed internet, so that everything is starting to go very slow over there. Those are the recommendations that I'd like to approach the Board of Finance with. They've been researched with each of the relevant town departments that check off the boxes that we committed to about trying to satisfy or restore budget cuts that were in the operating budget. And I think we're hitting a lot of different bases here and really trying to move the town forward. Amy, if you're still with us, do you have any comments about that?
No, I think we looked at everything that's out there on the CIP that hasn't managed to get up to the funding level. We looked at current needs, things that have arose, and those are the projects we came up with. After many meetings, this has not been a hurry and get a piece of paper together. We've worked on this for months with many different people.
So, unless there are objections, I'd like to take this to the Board of Finance meeting at their next meeting and ask that they consider transfers to appropriate CNR lines to accomplish these 13 different projects.
Yes. I could ask a question.
Sure.
On the police K-9 vehicle, said he got into an accident. Isn't that vehicle covered by insurance?
Yes, we got 2 quotes from Kerma, 11,000 and change if we keep it, 8,000 and change if we let Kerma take it. There's a depreciation of the equipment that's in there and the vehicle, but it's a 2018 vehicle that we got on a Jag. I have to work with Amy when she gets back to consider it. I think it's over $5,000, so we have to get some
Just
consideration.
trying to justify the 58,000.
It's actually a $70,000 car, but we're banking on the insurance money coming to cover it.
Yeah.
Yes.
And the second question I have, just because I've been going between the chimney at the Broderick School and the roofing issue, if there is one at the Broderick School,
Talk about the ceiling or the
the
roof?
ceiling,
Okay, the ceiling and the chimney.
it's chimney, what purpose does that chimney serve? Is it serving a purpose? Because I thought that was gas powered over there.
It's not in use.
It's not in use. Is it ever gonna be in use? So then I question why we're gonna fund it if it's never gonna be in use. Why don't we just remove it?
That actually, they looked into what's called capping the chimney, and the price is substantially similar. It's the difference of like $300 or something. It's
I want to say the price was 85,000, well, it's 95,000, most updated price.
okay.
We can just tear it down ourselves.
No. No, we have
It's hazmat.
no employees who would be covered to do this.
It's actually a hazmat.
Oh, it is.
And
I didn't realize that. I got the answer.
Yeah, I mean, if you see the picture, you
Yeah,
can
I
stick
got it.
your whole hand into
Yeah.
the cracks.
Yeah, you can, yeah.
Yeah.
so I went to the Board of.
I saw that.
Yeah.
Some cracking when I was looking at it the other day. That's why I was questioning if it was being utilized.
I went to the Board of Ed meeting, I went to their facility subcommittee meeting, and Patrick and I have had a number of conversations about this going back and forth between the elementary school chimney repairs and the fixing of the gym ceiling in the elementary school. And for me, two things carried the day. First of all, they were pretty committed that the chimney was a higher priority, but also the remediation work on the ceiling could be $50,000, could be $150,000, because you don't know what's right. So because we have a dollar amount certain and a project that they agree is their priority and we can accomplish it, it's checkbox. You know, I think that makes a lot of good sense.
Yeah, I mean, the chimney, we've been told has 1 year, in order to like repair it. That's, so that's the timeline for it.
Comments?
Keep that up.
So, you know, we have $930,000 of unexpended funds on June the 6th. And we just went through a budget cycle, and this money must have been known that it was sitting there when we went through a budget, and nothing was cut from any of these line items. And I just want to comment that I don't know how we can end up with almost $1 million of unexpended funds right after we go through a budget cycle, and the budget that just got approved has the same dollar amounts, nothing was cut, and we're gonna, so it looks like we're overfunding our budget. The second issue is that these unexpended funds, charter at 8.8, unexpended funds are supposed to lapse and go back to the fund balance. And they should, in my opinion, and we should be making special appropriations. The charter at 8.6 says specifically says that you have to do a supplementary appropriation. That anything over $20,000 goes to the Board of Finance and it has to go out to a public hearing. So, or for a town meeting. And these transfers are just bypassing the charter because it's been happening a lot. So I'd like to suggest that we send it over as a request for special appropriations, not as transfers. So they know that they can meet their charter obligation and send it out for a town meeting. This concept of just spending nearly $1 million at a simple vote at the Board of Finance, it's just like without public discussion, public hearing, I just think it's not consistent with the charter. I'm not saying I don't support some of these things, but to just transfer, you know, $70,000 for electronic signs in front of the town hall. I mean, people have been asking for what they do in Ellington, which is sandwich boards, but we're gonna spend $70,000 for signs in front of the town buildings without a public hearing and asking people what they want, or with a vote at a town meeting. I just don't understand that. It's not consistent with the charter, and I don't think we should ask the Board of Finance to do something that violates the charter. The way they've been doing transfers just happens every year, right after the budget. There's transfers occurring. Board of Selectmen makes requests, and the Board of Finance just transfers money without a public hearing or a town meeting. It's just not what the charter says we're supposed to be doing. I'm just trying to make my points. I hope the Board of Finance, if this comes to request a charter, as transfers, is gonna do their job and consider a special appropriation and have a public town meeting so that the public gets to vote on these things. That's the whole point of the charter. Public gets to vote, decide each of these items if they want them or not. We can't do it as transfers. That's not what the charter allows us to do. I'm just making my point. We'll see what happens at the Board of Finance.
Amy, could you explain the difference between an appropriation and a transfer for Keith's clarification, please?
Yes, an additional appropriation is money in excess of what was voted on by the people for the budget. In this case, we've had staff positions not filled, so they didn't take insurance. We transferred, I don't know, $180,000 already for the police department to other lines for them so that they could get some things done because they had savings. Well, every time we have savings, there's also savings in other lines tied to those bodies that aren't working for us. So that's where our savings have come from. But this is dollars that have already been voted on by the voters. We are just reallocating it to CNR projects versus letting it roll to the fund balance, which is already too big.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I
I think,
want to finish responding to that because answering and responding to me. And that's not at all what the charter says. And I'm not sure where the finance director is getting her information from, because the charter is very explicit. I'm looking right at it. If funds are required for which no provision was made in the budget. And the first selectman said, all these items, there was no provision made in the budget.
The next year's budget.
Right. So, and it wasn't in last year's budget, and I'm not sure what the director of finance is saying. Because that's not the definition of a special appropriation, what you just said. You can't create new expenditures that have not been budgeted by way of transfer if they're over $20,000 without town meeting. And they've been doing that for years at the Board of Finance until recently, where they started to do
I'm
transfers.
sorry, are you relating him to the charter page 79, section 8.6?
86 B and page 39.
Well, that's duties of the Board of Finance.
So I'm making a point that the Board of Finance is obligated to do a special appropriation, and we're requesting them
Well,
today.
that's what we're being decided to move forward.
So I think Keith has made his point. I know Alan had a comment or a question or a statement that he wanted to make as well. So Alan, the floor is yours.
I was just questioning, Trump, we voted, I may have missed this. Is that what we just approved tonight, 60 grand?
59.9 there.
Okay.
It's like.
And then I can't put my finger on, I was looking back through some of our budget paperwork, and I, of course, don't have everything with me tonight, but did we have something that we were postponing for the library, or is there something unfunded for the library that they asked for?
Salaries.
It was salaries.
And there, by the way, I could probably come up with another 15 things that
Sure,
people have asked for that are operational and I can't carry from one.
gotcha. Okay. I wasn't sure if it was, I didn't remember what it was, but
No, this is all CNR eligible projects that'll be transferred by the Board of Finance to, if they approve them, to an appropriate CNR line. They're all capital.
I know it isn't the role of this board, so thank you for bringing it to our attention and keeping us informed before we went there.
Okay, so we'll move right along. Some tax refunds.
I'll move to approve the tax refunds totaling $446.84.
Second.
All in favor?
I
Opposed? Now we'll move right along to selectmen. Okay, it's been a busy couple of weeks, and usually what I do is I go in sequence, but there are two things that I'm going to jump out of order here for. First of all, thank you to everybody who participated in the ribbon cutting for our brand new playground this past Sunday. Thank you to Melissa Maltesi and Joe Sauerhofer and their teams for completing the project, but also putting together a really fantastic ribbon cutting. We had about 150 kids there. We had about twice that in parents. Paw Patrol was there. Thank you for that, Chief. We had food trucks and snow cones. We had live music. We had games. We had giveaways. We had face painting. We had balloons. It was a flat out perfect day. And I'm told the kids have been constantly on that since then. It was a really great accomplishment and really fun to be a part of. The second thing I alluded to tomorrow at 10:30, the State Bond Commission is slated to hold their meeting, and on number 75 on their agenda is the award of $8 million to the town of East Windsor for a bond to move forward with an interlocal public safety radio system. As you all know, ours is very old. $8 million is a tremendous amount of state funding. And I want to give credit to Representative Foster for securing that. Chief Carl, I want to give credit to you for all of the hard work you have done to get us to this point. Sincerely, we would not be here without your help and without Jamie's advocacy. Thank you. Speaking of Chief Carl, while I'm on him, he and I attended on May 24th, we attended a FEMA Incident Command System training that was sponsored by CROG for municipal CEOs and emergency management directors. It was an overview of the continuing series of coursework that he and I have taken in FEMA preparedness. I think he and I have one more lengthy session to go, which will be sometime this year's a two-day session. But also kudos to the police department. Deputy Chief Murphy and several sergeants have all made progressions through the FEMA ICS training system. which will make our municipal response, should we need it, deep and strong. And I'm excited about that. On March 26th and 27th, the town held very nice Memorial Day commemoration ceremonies. We were very surprised and pleased to have United States Senator Chris Murphy with us for the Memorial Day parade. That was part of his Walk Across Connecticut thing, but it was nice to have him walking with us in that parade. And I appreciate him watching my son for a minute while I handed my daughter off. Over the last couple of weeks, the Board of Education has been gracious enough to open their doors to take tours of the middle school and the high school buildings, so we could see exactly what the population footprint in those buildings currently look like. The middle school one was done earlier in the day. The high school one was timed to be done during a lunch wait. And I thought that actually was a nice touch to get a good flavor for the facilities as they stand. On the 30th, I attended a visit with the president of Lincoln Tech and the president or the executive director of the Connecticut Railway Association, so that we could talk about, first of all, the town's relationship with Lincoln Tech, part of the business outreach that I like to do, but also facilitating connections and hoping to build a relationship between Lincoln Tech and the Trolley Museum. So I hope there's something that'll be fruitful that comes out of that. And lastly, 2 days ago, I attended a meeting of the Local Prevention Council, which is a extension of Amplify that is intended to discourage youth from alcohol and substance abuse. There was a heavy presence from school staff. Thank you for that. That really was a very good conversation. Melissa Maltesi is part of that. I'm a part of that, and they're looking to expand that as time goes along. So I think that's a really creative 5-year, $1 million initiative that is grant funded through Amplify. That's what I have. I'll turn to Marie.
Okay. I don't know if that's.
Thank you for that. That would be bad.
Yeah, the only thing I have, I had a meeting at the Water Pollution Control Authority meeting, this was on May 29th. Last month I reported, that the 2 individuals in charge both retired, and that there was talk about bringing them back, as consultants for, a period of time, that has taken place. And in the meantime, they've, named Steve Bednarz and Alan Aldridge as 2 individuals to fill in for those positions at some point. That's not correct.
All in all, which is a brand new employee.
Brand new
At the
employee.
lower end.
Okay, below it, okay.
And Steve Bednar.
And Steve Bednarz
Chief.
is now the chief operating. Okay, thank you. In their meeting, they discussed, they had 2 public sessions. Nobody went on the FCCs for West River Gates. So those public hearings were closed. There were a couple of concerns with the FCCs when they're coming to the community center in Park Hill. There's some procedures in place, and at their next meeting, they're going to take this document and we're going to be reviewing it for changes. That'll have some effect on some of that. Steve Bednarz reported that they had a sinkhole that was repaired, that their huge tanks that they have, they've been cleaned out, and the problem continues with what they refer to as rags that are being put through the sewage cycle. And months back, we had talked about possibly doing something within the school systems to try to educate the public and the students that those disposable wipes that people are using aren't disposable and they clog up the system. So they took, I believe they said 100 5-gallon buckets of those rags out of there. The generator that was moved over at Scouts Hall to make room for the construction that's being done. Tower generators are going to be looking at that to reposition it at some point. And their town attorney, after several years, has asked for his retainer to be increased from $7,500 to $10,000. And that's basically all I have.
It's good, it's here, that's a, market adjustment.
All of the above.
Look at his face. Al.
I was out of the state all last week, so I don't have anything for you.
Sir,
The Board of Education has held 2 meetings since we've last met. On May 22nd, there was a presentation given by Daryl Rouliard on professional development and a state mandated change in the evaluation process for staff. Effective July 1st, the board adopted the new plan to be in compliance with updated Connecticut guidelines. The new format allows for separate rubrics that are more specific to the job, where previously there was just one standard rubric. There will be no more ratings given. Teachers and staff will be evaluated on evidence and data on student growth, and the educators are still responsible for their students' performance. The process allows for more engagement amongst peers and focuses on goals of the school, district, and educator. There was a presentation given on high school seniors, and 80% of the graduating class of 2024 will be going on to a 2 or 4 year school or a tech school. There was more discussion on the replacement of the high school track, and 3 bids were obtained, which we discussed tonight. Last night, the Crystal Apple Awards were presented. Congratulations to Melissa Lee from the elementary school, Sandy Vogel of the middle school, and Terrence Edwards from the high school. All were nominated by a peer to recognize their leadership. The board received a presentation from all 3 school principals on the school year in review. Some things to highlight. At the Broadbrook School, 86% of kindergartners are at or above level in reading. According to iReady data, students improved in reading and math from the school to the spring, and the DARE program was brought back after many years. The middle school focused on boosting students' attendance with gift card raffles as an incentive and focused on a close relationship with an adult initiative. So each student has a staff member in the building that they can go to for advice or to talk. According to a survey, 97% of students feel that they have a close relationship with an adult at East Windsor Middle School. Cross country and track and fields were new programs that were brought back and had over 40 participants. The high school focused on students thinking about their future with a pathways program for career opportunities and business classes and program of studies, and test scores continue to improve. The board also talked about updates on their strategic plan. On June 2nd, I attended the ribbon cutting for the new playground at East Windsor Park. It was really a great day for East Windsor. It was also good to see our police chief and deputy chief in attendance. And it's just to see the smiles on the kids' faces and the interaction was really something that really stuck with me. On June 3rd, I attended the Warehouse Point Fire Commissioners meeting. There were 68 calls, and the fire marshal's office completed 19 inspections in the month of May on that side of town. They also discussed going out to bid for lawn care and snow removal, or possibly purchasing their own equipment to do the work in-house in the future. And that's what I have.
thank you. Okay,
Yeah, well, first, Sarah, I want to thank you for reporting on the good news from the schools. It's always heartening to see the progress that they're making over there. Thanks for reporting that in detail. I did attend the Agricultural Commission meeting and the Conservation Commission meetings. They were discussing the plan for conservation development. Dan was there. Is that the other person that was at the other meeting? Was that?
Yeah.
That's Danielle. She's his only enforcement officer.
Yeah,
Oh, she was there at the other meeting. And they've been discussing comparing the old plan of conservation development and recognizing that it probably needs to emphasize agriculture more and open space more than it has in the past. So they're working on that. And then they're also working on an ordinance. The Conservation Commission is working on a scenic routes ordinance, which is one of the goals of one of the objectives in the plan of conservation development. They've done a comparison of like a dozen ordinances from other towns. They're trying to shape it, particularly around the issue of industrial solar. And they are working on bringing that to the next phase, which I think is to the town staff to help them with that. I think that's what the plan is. So they're making good progress on both of those commissions. It's nice to sit around with farmers and hear them talk about the local farms in town and all the crops and all the good farming stuff. It's a good, if they're good meetings, if anyone has a chance to attend and they want to meet the folks that are actively farming or involved in the farming community, come to the agricultural commission meeting or the conservation commission meeting.
All right, we're going to turn to public participation. The second opportunity for members of the public to address the Board of Selectmen. I'll first ask if there's anybody here in the room who would like to address the board, and invite you to state your name, your address, and make your statement. And I'll provide the same opportunity to anybody who's online. Is there anybody in the room who would like to address the Board of Selectmen? Yes, ma'am, you in the back.
And Hills, 1 Grandview Terrace. And it's not about budget or anything. I know that we're less than 2 weeks away from Juneteenth. And I haven't seen anything on the town website. So I was just wondering how we're going to acknowledge or celebrate Juneteenth.
Interesting question. Do you have a narrative, like a one-page narrative that you could provide?
I can,
I would like, that would be helpful.
and we put it on the front page. Okay, I also would like to add that, February being Black History Month. I know that the school isn't open on June 19th because of the, celebration. So I didn't know, or I would like to see it incorporated because June 19th is part of Black History. And so I wanted to see how we can incorporate that. Well, Black History all year, but I think that celebrating it in February while school is in session is appropriate because it is session.
Point. Thank you for raising it. And those two ladies right in front of you are the ones to speak with about that. Is there any other public comment? Yes, sir. Name and address, please.
Paul Anderson, 89 Main Street, Broadbrook. Probably won't make any friends with this, but that's the way it goes. So it's a little disheartening when a first grader comes home and is discussing slavery and white and black people's relationships. At that age, that's inappropriate. US history, when I went to school, was taught in the junior year of high school. First graders need to work on basics and nothing but basics. They need to read, they need to be able to write, and they need to be able to do arithmetic. I have great trouble with, quote, DEI, which I don't support. I don't like indoctrination. The parents, the grandparents, and I happen to be a relationship with this individual, his grandnephew. And I find that to be completely inappropriate and a waste of school hours. He also came home with the idea that if he does something wrong, it's not him, it's his feelings. And that also is a bunch of baloney. Everybody is personally responsible for what they do. No excuses. Children need to be taught right and wrong. Not that whatever you do is okay because it's your feeling. That's garbage. Okay? When I grew up, that never existed. And it was never a problem. Now we're teaching people to not be responsible for what they do. It's somebody else's fault. And that's not true. So I'm very disappointed, especially at that age level where they don't know any better and they're going to absorb all this crap and they're going to think that's the way life should be, and it should not be. You want to know why you can't get people to work on jobs? Because nobody works anymore. Everything is free. You do whatever you want. And all this is being built up and it's destroying this entire country. Work ethic comes from doing what you're supposed to do. It doesn't come from excuses. So when the school teaching excuses, it is a total waste. But we're not educating kids, in my opinion. I think we're destroying them.
Thank you. Again, I think your comments, although they're here, I think they're most appropriately directed to the Board of Education.
Beside the point, this is a public forum, that's my public comments. And guess what?
And I was
Recorded and everybody can hear it.
And I was going to thank you for making those points, but just so that you know the process, the proper pathway was. Thank you. Is there any other public comment from anybody in the room? Yes, sir. Name and address, please.
I'm Buckley, Kings Court, Rock Road. I'm looking at this window here, and I see purple lights over at the school. Were they put in on purpose, or is it something that went wrong with the lights? I know the state has this problem on the highways. Their LEDs are turning purple.
I don't have any
I
information.
don't know if it's just coincidence, or if it's something somebody actually went and did. Sure.
I assume it was done on purpose, but I can't speak to that.
Number two, I wish to thank the board, the board, for appointing me to be super commissioner.
You need to get sworn in.
Yeah, we'll try to keep the water clean.
Is there any other public comment? Is there anyone online who would like to address members of the Board of Selectmen? Mr. Leach, state your name and address, please.
I'm sorry if you didn't hear me. Robert Leach, 39 Church Street. Mr. Chairman, can you confirm that you received my response to public comments on your meeting at on May 2nd?
Yes.
So all Board of Selectmen members received it, correct?
As far as I know.
Okay, thank you. I don't want to take up any more of your time. If you can you just add that to your minutes for the meeting? In the sake of time, I don't want to have to go through reading it into the minutes, if that's okay.
We're not supposed to do that, or our practice has not been to do that. You are certainly welcome to read it in if you'd like. Actually, I would ask you to do that.
Okay, fine. I guess I will. So at the May 2nd, 2024 Board of Selectmen meeting during public comment, a resident stated that public testimony was given to the Connecticut legislature in regard to a proposed bill. 5 times the resident made a false claim, and I'll quote them. Public testimony was given by the town of East Windsor from the chairman of East Windsor Police Commission. I was a little shocked why the town of East Windsor would be opposing a bill. It clearly went out under the town of East Windsor, chairman of the police commission. If you're going to give testimony, you cannot do it under the town of East Windsor's name. And the last quote was, ours stands out like a sore thumb because it says the town of East Windsor. I would invite that resident to come forward and correct those above quoted false claims. I would also thank Board of Selectmen Muska for attempting to correct the minutes of the May 2nd meeting at your last meeting. Facts of this matter are as follows. I, Robert Leach, chairman of the East Windsor Police Commission, certainly did submit testimony to the Judiciary Committee in opposition to HB 5448. I've sent the copy to you all. You should have it. And I signed that testimony under my name and my elected position as Robert Leach, chairman, East Windsor Police Commission. Nowhere in my testimony or in my signature does it state that it was submitted by the town of East Windsor as a resident falsely claimed. For clarification, HB 5448, an act concerning security of certain election workers, was submitted to the Connecticut Legislative Judiciary Committee on 3/7, one day after public testimony was received on 3/8. A copy of that legislation is attached. It is this bill that I opposed, not the joint favorable substitute that came out of that committee. In that bill, Section 2 creates a Class D felony for anyone in possession of a firearm or a deadly weapon within 1,000 yards of a polling place. Furthermore, the legislation refers to Connecticut General Statutes, Title 53A, Chapter 950, Section 53A-3, Paragraph 6. Deadly weapon means any weapon, whether loaded or unloaded, from which a shot may be discharged, or a switchblade knife, gravity knife, billy jack, bludgeon, or metal knuckles. Under this section, even a BB gun is considered a deadly weapon. The most egregious part of this bill, and this is the reason why I oppose this bill, is that there is no provision for the lawful possession of a firearm or deadly weapon for anyone other than law enforcement within that 1,000-yard radius of a polling place. That would include homes and households that in that legislation as proposed. There is no provision whatsoever. In East Windsor, that encompasses approximately 140 homes between Warehouse Point and Broadbrook polling locations. That's 140 households in which anyone lawfully in possession within their own home would be guilty of a Class D felony for simply living within the radius. That's bad legislation, and I'm sure we're all aware how common that occurs in Hartford. Mine was just one of over 500 testimonies that was submitted in opposition to this egregious overreach, and only 21 were submitted in support in the time span of 1 day. Some notable testimony submitted in opposition with names redacted: Executive Director of the FOI Commission, Legislative Co-Chair, Connecticut Council on FOI, Registrar of Voters of City of Stamford, an officer, State Trooper, and most importantly, Connecticut Secretary of State, Stephanie Thomas, also submitted testimony in which she stated, should this bill move forward, I respectfully suggest expanding the language to carve out private property. Even the Secretary of State's office understood the severity of the language. Additionally, over 1,000 emails were received by legislators requesting removal of Section 2, and our legislators agreed to remove Section 2 entirely. It should be noted that I do support HB 5448 as amended and passed by the legislature regarding prevention of harassment and protection of poll workers to include myself, as well as preserving our rights to protect ourselves and as guaranteed by the U.S. and state constitutions. All of our fundamental rights are protected under the U.S. Constitution and our state constitution. Could you imagine making speech within the same radius a felony, even in your own home? This is no different. These rights are said to be fundamental because they were found to be so important for individual liberty that they should be beyond the reach of the political process, and therefore they're enshrined in the Constitution. I signed that testimony in this fashion specifically because if such legislation creating felons of innocent people for simply living within their own homes, then I, members of the police commission and our police department would likely have to develop policies to deal with such egregious legislation. I will always oppose any legislation that creates criminals from innocent people. I will always work to protect the fundamental rights of our residents in our town, our state, and our nation. It's our duty as Americans to uphold the Constitution and, in this case, protect the innocent from horrible legislation, and that's exactly what I did. Sincerely, Robert Leach, Chairman of the East Windsor Police Commission. Thank you.
Thanks, I appreciate it. Is there other public comment? Seeing none, we will have an executive session. It will include Tax Assessor Helen Tots, Attorney Brian McCann, and Chief Matt Carlton. May I have a motion to go into executive session?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries unanimously. Okay. It is 11:43. We're out of executive session. There is no further business to come before the Board of Selectmen, so a motion to adjourn would be in order.
Move that we adjourn at 11:43 p.m.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion made by Selectman Muska, seconded by Selectman Baker. We are adjourned. All were in favor. We are adjourned at 11:43 p.m.